Thanks, Buhle. In The Point of View, opera singer Sibongile Mngoma was subjected to being manhandled and her clothes torn by police while occupying the Department of Arts and Culture office entrance in Pretoria. This was all after Mngoma and several other artists had been protesting for months, calling for the minister's attention on the handling of the COVID-19 Presidential Economic Stimulus Fund, which has been marred by allegations of mismanagement. Now, activist-led campaign Right to Know also has now come out in support of Mngoma and the other artists in their plight for information and accountability by the department. Right to Know has condemned the actions by the South African Police Service and have subsequently also called for the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Minister Nathi Mthethwa, to step down. For more on this, we're joined by Right to Know campaign National Working Group member in KZN, the provincial coordinator there, Verushka Memdutt. Very good morning to you, Verushka, pardon me. Thank you so much for your time. This is a really long-standing problem. I mean, the artists have done so much to get the attention of Minister Nathi Mthethwa. And, you know, you've come in to weigh in on this matter. Let's talk about some of the reasons why you are now standing in solidarity with the artists.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to the viewers. Yes, indeed, there is a need to stand in solidarity with the artists in this case. You know, South Africa currently is plagued with huge irregularities when it comes to the running of this country. And Right to Know is one of the organizations that believe in supporting people for the right reasons, and that is what we work towards. I mean, the freedom of expression and access to information is one of the cornerstones of our organization, and hence gives us every reason to support these artists, because they're asking for nothing more than what is rightfully due to be known by them.
Let's talk a little bit about what happened to opera singer Sibongile Mngoma. I mean, she's been standing outside of the entrance of the Arts, Culture, Sports building for several weeks now. The incident that we're now referring to is when she was essentially manhandled by police officers, allegedly so, and had her blouse ripped, which also, you know, looking at some of the articles that have come to the forefront, she says that one of the officers held her breast. I mean, that points to a serious case.
You know, I think something we need to realize here is that the state are losing control of the manner in which they carry out their duties. You know, it is very important to have authority, but it's even more important that this authority knows how to impose their authority. What happened to Sibongile Mngoma is not only unfortunate, but it's a violation, it's a gross violation, and that is exactly what we should see it as. In a country where we are fighting for women's rights, in a country where we say women must be protected, in a country where our president says women are important and we value women, this is what happens at the department office just outside because a woman has stood there wanting or asking for what she deserves. I think the time is now. It is more important now than ever to make it clear that not only women, but basically also all of South Africa needs to get access to the information they require to hold people in office accountable. Because the reason we have this impunity, as such as what we refer to it as, is simply because people in office are unable to be held accountable. And the reason we aren't able to hold them accountable is because you have one department covering for another department. And what happened here is tantamount to intimidation. We cannot have someone who stands up for the truth, someone who stands up for right and for what's right, and someone who wants to make sure that everything is transparent for the benefit of the majority, have something like this done to her. Now, what really has been done here is, if Sibongile Mngoma was not as strong a person as she currently is and what we see her to be, another ordinary woman would have run away from this campaign because they stripped her of her dignity. And that is exactly what we see it as. You strip a woman of her dignity because she stands up to hold you accountable. This is just wrong. There's no other way to say it.
Now, you speak about accountability, you speak about information that is being required here and the right to access for that information. We're speaking about the forensic report. It's yet to be released, and the information within it is important because a lot of questions have been asked. There's been a lot of criticism about how these funds were rolled out and whose bank accounts they landed in.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
So let's talk a little bit then about the forensic report and why it's so important that it is essentially released and the information within it is known by all.
Okay, so what happened here is that an issue was raised, and this issue was raised publicly, not just internally. So it is the right of the public to know exactly what is going on. Are these artists, in fact, making a big hubbub, a big noise about something that is irrelevant? And I don't believe it is such, because if there was something that Sibongile Mngoma and her team were raising that was so small that the government could just put paperwork in front of us and say they are talking lies, we would not have reached this stage. It is very clear that there is something that is not wanting to be said. And I think for us right now, as the solidarity partners, it is important to see that this forensic report is released and interrogated. I think interrogated so much so that we are able to understand why the artists are behaving in this manner. Why is it that there are disruptions? And also know that this is exactly how the department operates. This is what the department has done. They've done either wrong or right. We cannot say right now, but this report will give us all clarity, and I think that is what we all need to see now.
It's a report that will give clarity, but also what Sibongile Mngoma had wanted to do was to meet face-to-face with Minister Nathi Mthethwa. That meeting was meant to happen on a Tuesday, I understand, and then as they were making their way out of Johannesburg into Bloemfontein, as they arrived, I understand, the meeting was then postponed. Let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, the build-up has been quite intense to have this matter then sort of delayed even further.
Yes. So I think saying that the build-up was intense is an understatement, because it's simple. The government has offices, and these offices should be accessible. Further to that is that, in fact, the doors of these offices were closed, which is a concern in itself. And wanting to meet Nathi Mthethwa, if he was really doing his job, he would be able to face Sibongile Mngoma and give her straight answers. And that, I think, is very important. He had the opportunity. In fact, it's irrespective of whether the artist turned up at his office. He should have been in readiness to answer relevant questions that would put merit to what the department is saying on their side, and also discredit the artist if what they have raised is not regular or wrong, you know. So clearly, Nathi Mthethwa has had the time, and I think it's been over several months, to prove that the artists are just making a noise about nothing, which is something he hasn't come forth with. In fact, avoiding the artists, to have officials avoiding people who are asking questions is an issue in itself. Come on now, it's time we received answers.
Now, as the conversation has been intensifying here at Newzroom Afrika, in fact, on this very show, I personally spoke to Nathi Mthethwa's spokesperson, Maschaba Khumalo, and as I posed the question of the artists calling for the minister to resign, she, in response, said that it comes from just a loud minority, and that the majority of artists are generally happy with Mthethwa's leadership. You have now joined the call for Minister Nathi Mthethwa to step down in support of the artists. Why is that?
So it's very simple. As activists in Right to Know, we work with several different departments, and we do know how the government operates. It is very easy to get the buy-in from a few and raise the volume, making it seem like it is many. I'm not saying this is the case here, but it could very well be the case. We leave the balance of probabilities to them to prove. I mean, the state, in this case, Nathi Mthethwa, why is he not meeting Sibongile Mngoma with the correct documents, with the reports, and sitting down and discussing it? What is it that they are hiding? So while they say that some artists are happy, yes, but why are, you remember something, the government has to look at all of us as equal in their eyes. So even if it were just two people, in this case it's not two people, but if it was just two people that were raising a concern, it is the duty of the department to assist or to work with these two people to resolve on the issues they raise, because every single person counts. And this is what he's saying. So what I don't know, it could be such, and it appears to me as this, is that because what the department deems a majority are satisfied, is it that now what Sibongile Mngoma and the rest of her team are raising, is it irrelevant? It shouldn't be irrelevant. He should still sit down, and I don't see it happening anytime soon because of the utterances we've heard. But really, whether it's 1, 2, 10, or 20, it must be resolved.
And very lastly, before we let you go, what sort of legal recourse, what are the options that you're putting on the table with this matter?
So at this stage, we have provided solidarity to these artists. And we will be led by the artists in whatever they decide to do, but knowing well that together we are stronger, and that as Right to Know campaign, what we do is support struggles. And this is indeed a very important struggle that needs the support of many. We must never forget that this liberation we achieved, artists played a very vital role. So at no stage should we be ignoring the voices of artists.
Sibongile Mngoma had been asked about the allegations of sexual harassment outside of that building in Pretoria, and she said that she was considering taking legal action, but not sounding very confident in the processes when it comes to this matter, really, having some sort of justice in the matter. What's your position on that? Are you going to assist her with pursuing the matter, or perhaps just waiting on her to make the decision?
Ultimately, the decision is hers. But from what I, as a woman, saw, be it a man or a woman who had touched me the way Sibongile Mngoma was touched, there is a problem. GBV is something we need to take very seriously. And nothing, I mean, they're different. I don't believe that the South African police force are trained to touch women's breasts. And I'm going to say it just like that. That cannot be what the policewoman was trained for. I'll rest there.
Thank you so much. Let's leave the conversation there. Right to Know campaign national working group is Verushka Memdutt there, speaking about some of the allegations that have come to the forefront with this matter that continues to really escalate. Artists calling for a face-to-face meeting with Minister Nathi Mthethwa when it comes to questions around the 300 million rand stimulus package. How was it rolled out, and who are some of the main beneficiaries? Some really important questions there that certainly still need some answering.